catch up. So we're going to start by going ahead and sitting. You can sit either cross-legged, you could sit as I'm sitting now, or you can put a block in between your heels, whatever works best for you. And I'd like you to take a moment to sit, and then you will see if you need to remove any flesh from underneath your sit bones. Plant your hands just on top of your thighs for a moment, and then soften the gaze and close the eyes. From here, I want you to see if we can start at your pelvis and really feel like you're rooting down through the hips and spreading wide. So right to left, front to back. And then from there, start to grow up through the spine. So you can start to stack the vertebra right on top of each other, all through the lumbar spine, the thoracic spine, the cervical spine, up through the head. And then notice if you can soften the shoulders down the back. Release any tension in your fingers, your palms, and then soften any tension around the mouth, the jaw. Fantastic. And you will keep this general orientation and bring one hand to the heart space and one hand to your belly. And for today, we're going to start by breathing a very specific way. So I want you to start to breathe into your belly and then wide into your ribs and then up into your top chest hand. And then exhale from the belly through the ribs and through the hand on the chest. And we'll just take about 7 of those. You're going to breathe into the belly. You're going to widen your ribs and then let the collarbones lift. And then as you exhale, you soften the navel to the spine. You allow the ribs to knit together and you allow the chest to softly fall. And as you're taking these next 5 breaths on your own, you're paying attention to how you can start to elongate the breath, how you can start to smooth it out. And you're just noticing that as you're breathing in this very particular pattern, that your nervous system also starts to calm down. And you've got about 2 more breath cycles here on your own. And you're just observing how the breath is. You're again lengthening the in-breath and lengthening the out-breath. At the end of this next exhalation, you'll allow the hands to gently rest back onto the thighs, sit tall through the spine, and I just want you to take notice of what is happening right here, right now in the body. Our invitation for today is just going to continue to be to stay connected to your breath and stay connected to the sensations in your body, because they're always giving us messages that are key for us if only we would listen. On your next exhalation, you'll start to draw your chin to your chest and crawl yourself forward onto hands and knees. When you find yourselves in hands and knees, you may pad your knees with a blanket if your knees are sensitive, or just simply find yourself on hands and knees. Once you're in hands and knees, make sure your hands are directly underneath your shoulders and straighten through the arms as much as you can. Then allow your belly to drop towards the floor like a sad cow, and allow your head to drop towards the floor also like a sad cow. And we're going to be sad cows for 10 breaths here. And again, I want you to breathe into your belly, and then you'll breathe wide into your ribs, and then you'll breathe up into your chest. Yeah, and then you'll exhale from the belly, and you'll exhale through the ribs, and you'll exhale through the chest. And you're just going to stay here in Egoscue static back as you continue to breathe into the low belly, into the low back, into the ribs, into the chest, and then exhaling from the chest from the, now I'm confused. But you just keep breathing. So we're breathing from the belly to start, breathing up through the ribs, through the chest, and then emptying from the belly, through the ribs, through the chest. And on this next breath, you'll just see if you can keep straightening the arms a little bit more, if you can let your head be a little bit heavier. Fantastic. Great. Stay here. The next time you breathe in, again, breathe into the belly, breathe into the ribs, breathe into the chest. As you exhale this time, start to scoop the belly away from the floor. Press the floor away, round through your upper spine, and draw your chin towards your chest, finding your cat shape. And then inhale, breathe into the belly, breathe into the ribs, breathe into the chest, come into your cow shape. And you'll take 5 of those on your own. So again, you're just following the breath. The breath is starting in the abdomen. It is initiating the movement. And you'll notice that we're starting to slightly tone the belly as we're doing this, using the breath to help motivate the movement, allowing the movement to deepen the breath. Great, you've got 2 more on your own. Again, the belly breath is initiating the movement. Nice work, nice deep breaths, guys and gals. Fantastic. The next time you inhale, let's go ahead and come to a neutral spine. Fantastic. And then as you exhale, we're going to circle our hips to the left, circle our hips back towards our feet, circle our hips over to the right, and then come forward. And you've got 4 of these. And again, as best as you can, stay with that belly breath. So the exhale starts in the belly. It goes to the ribs. It comes to the chest. The inhale starts in the belly. It goes to the ribs. It goes to the chest. And your head might move around with your hip circles. It might not. You're still spreading wide through the fingers on the floor. Yeah. And you're just feeling the connection of the arms. You're feeling the connection of the breath. Fantastic. The next time you come through center, go ahead and pause. Take your right hand, thread it underneath you to the left, allowing the right shoulder and ear to come to the floor. Reposition the left hand as needed. And again, 3 breaths here, breathing into your belly, into your ribs, into your chest, and exhaling from the belly, from the ribs, from the chest. And you'll notice that if you push down into your left hand, specifically when you exhale, it might enable you to twist a little bit more towards the left. But again, more is not always better. You just pay attention and you breathe. On your next in-breath, come back up through center, replant that right hand underneath you, and then we'll take our circles the other way. So circle your hips to the right, back behind you, over to the left, and then forward. And your head goes along for the ride. You're following the breath, so the exhale is what draws your pelvis to the side and back. The inhale draws it to the opposite side and forward. And you're just paying attention as we're lubricating those hip joints, we're deepening our breath, we're finding how we're connecting to our body and our movement now. Nice work. We'll say the next time you come through center, find a sense of neutrality, and then thread your left hand underneath you to the right, lowering the left ear, shoulder, arm to the floor. Reposition the right hand as needed, and then take 3 breaths here. Again, pressing into the right hand, breathing into the belly, into the ribs, into the chest, and exhaling from the belly, from the ribs, from the chest. And just notice what you notice as you're here, as you're connecting to this moment in time. Fantastic. On your next in-breath, come back up. Replant both hands directly underneath you. And then we're going to start to walk our hands about, 12 inches forward, coming to Anahatasana. Keep your knees directly underneath your hips, your thigh bones perpendicular to the floor. Your hands are shoulder distance apart, and then lower your forehead towards the floor. Isometrically pull your hands back as you allow the heart to melt towards the floor. Julian, you're good. And we'll just take 2 more breath cycles here. Maybe you shift your forehead a little right to left. Maybe you don't, but you're just noticing how the breath is, noticing how the body's working. Fantastic. On your next in-breath, start to draw more weight into your hands, shifting back to that hands and knees position. And then lower one forearm to the mat, lower the other forearm to the mat, and walk your knees back to come into Sphinx pose. When you find yourself in Sphinx pose, let's go ahead and separate our hands to form the number 11. You'll isometrically pull the hands back, pull the heart forward, let the pubic bone be heavy into the mat, tops of the feet onto the floor, and soften the gaze or close the eyes. We're trying to find a little bit of compression in your low back. So if you notice that there, that's fantastic. And then broaden through the collarbones, letting the chest lift, the heart open. Fantastic. Go ahead and lower all the way down. Extend your right arm out to the right in line with your right shoulder. Step your left hand directly underneath your left shoulder, and then take a look to the left. Take a big breath in here, and as you exhale, push into your left hand. Walk your right hand back behind you. Roll to the right as you bend your left knee. That's the top knee. Plant the left foot on the floor, and you've got 3 breath cycles here. Notice if you need to reposition your head, you find a nice stretch on your right chest, upper armpit area thing, and you just pause and you breathe. Again, breathing into the belly, into the ribs, into the chest. Nice, steady, smooth breath. Thank you, Miss Jenny. Nice, steady, smooth breath. Fantastic. Let's inhale, come back onto your belly. Plant both hands underneath your shoulder blades, hip distance apart. Now, from here, press into the tops of your toenails. Happy toenails, press down. Push down into your hands isometrically. Draw your sternum forward, and then think of spinning your thumbs towards your fingers. Come into your cobra, whatever height that is, and you just pause and you breathe. Shoulders slide down the back, heart lifts up. Fantastic. Exhale, lower all the way down. Extend your left arm out to the left, hand shoulder height. Look to the right, plant your right hand underneath your right shoulder. From here, push into the right hand and start to roll to the left. You might inchworm your left hand back behind you. You might bend the right knee, top knee, planting it on the floor behind you. And then you've got 3 long, steady, smooth, consistent breaths. Seeing what it feels like to maybe lift your head away from the floor, maybe lowering it down or moving it back, but you're trying to find a stretch around your left armpit. And sometimes if you press into your left palm more, it allows you to have more sensation there. All right, inhale, come back to center. Plant both hands underneath your shoulders, tops of the feet to the floor once again. From here, press your pubic bone down, push the hands down, isometrically slide your heart forward, or actually pull your heart forward, isometrically pull the hands back, and then come a little higher into your cobra if you'd like. But again, you're pushing the tops of the toes, pubic bone does what it does, tailbone does what it does, exhale, lower all the way down. Fantastic. Curl both sets of toes under, lightly push into your hands, push into your knees, draw your belly button in and inhale the hands and knees. Good fake out. And then go ahead and walk your knees forward and sit your butt back for toe squat. So walk both knees, ankles, and shins together. If you need to pad knees, by all means do so. If you don't need to, by all means don't do that. We're just going to sit here for a moment. And then again, hand comes to heart, hand comes to belly. You soften the gaze, close the eyes, and breathe. And in this position, we want to see that our pubic bone feels like it's falling over a precipice. So our pubic bone is actually coming forward and down a little bit. Does that make sense? Okay, so if you're sitting on your sit bones, your pubic bone feels like it goes forward, so it keeps your natural lumbar curve, whereas I can pull my pubic bone back and it flattens out my back. Yeah? Okay. Yes.
Play out my wrist.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I don't not do.
Yeah.
But that makes me like playing out my wrist.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, no, so I've been taking these classes with Mary Richards, and go ahead and stand up because we're going to move on. Any case, Mary Richards and what's her name, Judith Hanson Laster, they're talking a lot about the female normal curve, and they say that a lot of us, if we're actually standing neutral, we'll have a lumbar curve, and so it'll feel like we're splayed in the front only because we've been so accustomed to tucking in and flattening this out. Whereas they're encouraging us to have more of a natural back bend. So we're working towards back bends today, and this is something that she talks a lot about the pubic bone just dropping forward. But because so many of us are accustomed to tucking and closing all of this in, it takes that away. And her theory as a physical therapist is that we shouldn't be doing that. So we're just playing with that as an idea today. So even if you feel like this is open, it might not be. Like I feel right now that I'm very open, and you can see my ribs and they're probably not open. I'm not. Awesome. Good question. Okay, wait, back where were we? Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna inhale, circle, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, hands through heart center, sit your butt down. We've got 5 of these. And you can keep the toes curled under, you can keep them flat on the floor. It's totally up to you. If they're flat, you're doing a little bit more work because you have to go a little further down. If they're curled under, you're stretching your feet. So you choose whichever option you want to do. So we just got 5. We're just pausing and we're breathing. And you're squeezing your little tuchus as you lower your bum back down to your heels. Lightly. Yes, Roberta, no. You're like, maybe not. Yeah. We'll do the same. Okay, that was 5. Okay, so come back up. Thank you, Roberta. I wasn't counting. Go ahead and grab your left wrist. Turn your left palm up to face the sky. Inhale, reach up. As you exhale, you're going to squeeze your legs towards each other and then take a little side bend towards the right. And you just pause and you breathe here. You're still hugging your inner thighs together. You're reaching out to your left palm. Next in-breath, come up through center. Turn your right palm to face the sky. Grab your right wrist. Inhale, reach up. And then again, hugging inner thighs together. Let the arms go over to the left. Fantastic. Inhale, come back up through center. Exhale, hands through heart center. Sit your butt down. Go ahead and inhale, come forward into hands and knees and take a cat and a cow. And you just notice what you notice here. Again, finding the breath, finding the movement, noticing what that feels like for you. And then let's find ourselves in a neutral spine. From here, slide your right foot straight back, curl the toes under, and just take a moment to pulse a little forward and back. How do your calves feel? How do the hands feel? Okay. And then go ahead and find center, come to stillness, plant all the weight into the hands, lift up through your inner right thigh, push down through your left shin knee thing, and lift your right leg parallel to the floor. Now check in with your skull. Is your head careening to the floor, or are you extending out through the spine? Yeah, and then keep lifting through that inner right thigh as you breathe into your belly. You breathe into your ribs, you breathe into your chest, and some of you might float your left arm forward and away from you in opposition for the last 3 breaths. And you just pause. Yeah, keep breathing into the belly, into the ribs, into the chest. Keep pushing through the points of contact with the floor. And on your next exhale, you'll simply lower the left hand down. You'll lower the right knee down. You'll take a cat and you'll cow, and you'll notice what you notice, how the breath is working, how the body's working. So I did spill the beans. We are working towards back bends, and today we're going to try not to tuck our tailbone. Judith Hanson Laster spent an inordinate amount of time talking about why we shouldn't be doing that. So we're going to see how that works for us. So let's go ahead and try the other side. Extend your left leg back, curl the toes under, and again, pulse forward and back, feeling how that feels in your wrist. Can you spread wide through your hands, pushing into the index fingers and knuckles of the hands while keeping the heels of your hands light? And then once you've got that, let's go ahead and come to stillness. Push the weight down into the hands, push into your right shin, float your left leg parallel to the floor. Yes, like an old crone I am now. Draw your outer right hip back, lift up through that inner left thigh, and then breathe into your belly. Oh yeah, breathe into your ribs. Oh yeah, and into your chest. Oh, aren't we happy? And then maybe you might reach your right arm forward. And you've got your last 3 breath cycles here. And again, we're pushing down through the points of contact. We're breathing as 3-dimensionally as we can. And you're just noticing. Keep lifting through the inner left thigh a little bit more. On your next exhale, lower the right hand and left knee. Take a cat and a cow and just notice what you notice here. Judith Hanson Laster, and I've been playing with this, she encourages the cat first because you engage the abdominal organs, which makes sense because actually most teachers inadvertently say cat and cow first, but I don't know if it makes a lot of difference one way or the other. I just know that if we're trying to do sneaky core work, you probably want to start with the cat first. All right, on your next in-breath, let's go ahead and come to a neutral spine and then curl both sets of toes under, walk your hips back towards a downward facing dog shape. And when you get there, I encourage you to move around, pedaling one leg and then the other. And really, we're working towards bringing our butt to where the wall and the ceiling meet. And then you're bending one knee and then the other to find how your hammies are feeling today. And then the best that we can keep our hands spread wide, it will allow us to take a little bit more weight out of our shoulders and send it into our legs. Great. Let's go ahead and come to stillness. On your next in-breath, sweep your right leg up and back. And you might take some ankle circles with that right foot. You might choose to do none of the above. You might just be still there, but just notice that I'm making you stay there for a little bit longer. How's the weight in your shoulders? How is the breath? Are you lifting up and out of your armpits? All right, next exhale, draw your right knee to your nose and lightly plant that right foot between your hands. Now at this point, most of us may want to walk our hands onto our blocks, so you'll bring your hands onto your blocks. And then you'll reach your heart forward. You'll reach your inner left heel back, and you'll see if you can find elongation through your spine. Happy long spine. Fantastic. On your next exhale, you might need to put a blanket underneath you, but you're going to lower your left knee down to the mat. Curl the toes under if needed or not. From here, hands both come to the center of your front thigh. Once we're there, push down into your right foot, push down into your left knee. And I want you to suck those points together. Now, while you're doing that, so the heel and the knee are coming together, draw the top of your left thigh bone back. So the knee goes forward, but the thigh bone goes back and the heart lifts up. You might choose to stay here. You might reach your left arm up. You might choose to stay here. You might take a baby happy side bend towards the right. But again, we're pulling our left knee isometrically forward. We're drawing the top of our left thigh bone back, and then we're softening across our face. We're breathing into our whole left side body. We're noticing what we notice here. Fantastic. Next in-breath, come up through center. As you exhale, hands come back to the floor or the blocks. Shift your weight back to straighten your front leg long. Now, ideally, we want to keep a perpendicular angle happening with our left thigh. So that might mean that our hands have to come back pretty far in order to straighten our right leg and keep our heart coming forward. Now, the first thing that you'll do is you'll notice that you all probably stopped breathing because I can't hear you, so I'm guessing that happened. And then we'll notice what happens if we have the sole of our foot on the floor, and notice what happens if we peel the sole of our foot off the floor and maybe slide your right foot a little further forward. Yeah, so here's for our hammy people. And you're just gonna keep pulling the toes back towards your face. You'll reach your heart and sternum forward as best as you can, so collarbones stay open. And some of you will stay here, happy as a clam. Some of you will externally rotate that right thigh from the top of the hip. So our right pinky toe starts to go over to the right. And we're like, oh yeah, that's fun. And then are you breathing? Probably not. You might be grimacing at me or smiling awkwardly, but that's fine too. Let's breathe. Let's breathe. Fantastic. Next in breath, come back through center. Plant the sole of your right foot on the floor. Shift your palms to the mat and straighten your back leg long. From here, plant the palms, step your bum back to downward facing dog. And you'll just take a moment, notice what you notice between your right side and your left side. How are your hammies now? How does that translate through your pelvis and your shoulders? Fantastic. Inhale, come forward. Come forward to plank. That was creepy and not clear at all. I'm so sorry. And now that you're in plank, again, we're gonna breathe. Breathe into your belly. Breathe into your ribs. Breathe into your collarbones. So this is Mary Richards' favorite thing to do. She teaches a lot with Judith Hanson Laster. Plank pose or her friend. She starts every class making you do this. And then you have to breathe. She doesn't hold for time. She holds it for your breath cycle. So we're going to do 2 more breath cycles of your breath cycles. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. You're noticing what you're noticing. You all are so freaking strong. I'm impressed. All right. Next in breath, shift your weight forward as you exhale. Draw the elbows back, the heart forward, lower slower than. Yay. Okay. Tops of the feet onto the floor. Pull your hands back. Pull your heart forward. Come into your cobra. Notice if it's changed at all. Is it maybe a little easier, a little higher? Exhale, lower all the way down. Curl the toes under. Push down into your hands. Push down into your knees. Scoop your belly away from the floor. Push through hands and knees. And then back to downward facing dog. Okay. Let's pause. Drop your knees for a moment. Have a look. Okay, so when we do our little push-ups from plank, we want to make sure that we're lifting up in one piece, even if that means it's just hands and knees. So sometimes when we do this, I see yeah. Instead, we can push down hands, push down knees, scoop belly. One piece. Can we try that again? Okay. No snake. People at home, did that make sense to you? Did you see that, or was the angle not good? Okay. It's a great dance move. So try it on your own, and we'll just make our way back to downward facing dog. But we're just trying to come up in one piece. Huh? Fantastic, great. And then downward facing dog, did that feel harder, easier, what? Different. Yeah, cool. That's okay. Different's good. And then you'll be there and you'll breathe, and you'll just be there and you'll breathe. And just notice what you notice. How's the breath? Are you still breathing into the belly and into your ribs and into your chest? And if not, no worries. We'll just come back to that. All right, let's move on. Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. And again, take those little ankle circles or maybe none of the above. And you just pause and you breathe and you notice what you notice. How's the breath? How's the weight in your shoulders? Fantastic. Go ahead and come to stillness with the foot. Exhale, left knee to nose. Shift your weight forward and plant that foot between your hands. Now at this point, again, hands might come to blocks. Blanket might need to be prep crash pad mode. And then you'll see if you can find some length. We're going to push down into our left foot, reach back through the inner right heel, and find the length all the way through the heart, finding lots of empty space. Yeah, long exhales. Next exhale, lower that right knee back down to the mat. Push into your left foot, push into your right knee. Hug those points together and bring your hands to the belly of your thigh. So again, as you pull these 2 points together, I want you to draw the top of your your right thigh back. And you might just stay here, pulling your right knee forward, pulling your left foot back. You might reach your right arm up. And then maybe take a little baby side bend towards your left. And again, the right knee's coming forward. The left heel is pushing down and back. You're softening across your face. You're breathing into your right throat, right side body, and you're breathing. And then on your next in-breath, let's go ahead and come up through center. Lower both hands to the floor or blocks. Shift your weight back to straighten your left leg. And again, you take a moment. Maybe you need to walk both blocks back so they're underneath your shoulders. You explore what it feels like to keep the sole of your left foot on the floor. Generally, for me, I feel that more across the front of my shin bone. And then maybe you peel the sole of your foot away from the floor as you slide your left heel forward a few inches. And then once we got all that going on, notice what's happening in your heart. Is the heart still open and forward? Is your pubic bone reaching back? Is there breath across here? And maybe you stay here happy as a clam. Maybe you externally rotate from the top of your left thigh. So the left pinky toe starts to point towards the left. And again, you just pause and you breathe. You soften any tension around your face. And if our hammies are talking to us, that's okay. They're talking to each and every one of us. We are good. Next in-breath, come back through center. Shift your weight forward. Plant the sole of the foot on the floor. Plant your hands on the mat. Straighten the back leg long and then step yourself back to downward facing dog. And again, just take a moment to pause and breathe. Yeah, that's looking good. And then next in-breath, shift your weight forward into plank pose and 3 steady, smooth breath. So again, breathing into the belly, breathing into the ribs, breathing into the chest, and then exhaling from the belly through the ribs, through the chest. And then notice where your head is in alignment. Yeah, I notice that sometimes for me, my head careens to the floor. It's like, oh man, maybe that'll make the shape easier. And it's like, actually, it maybe doesn't. Fantastic. Next in-breath, let's shift our weight forward and then slower than you want to, lower all the way down, hugging the elbows back, reaching the heart forward, letting belly, chest, and thighs touch at the same time. Great. Extend the tops of the feet onto the floor. Pull your heart forward and through, finding your cobra, Bhujangasana. Noticing if it feels a little easier. Exhale, lowering all the way down. Okay, here's our chance. Curl our toes under. Your choice, hands and knees or plank pose. Just make it one shape, one move. Yep, yep, yep. And then downward facing dog. And you just pause and you breathe. And you pause and you breathe and you notice what you notice. Nice work, guys and gals. All right, next in-breath, gaze towards your hands. As you exhale, bend your knees, empty your belly, step or float top of your space. Great. When you get to the top of your mat, go ahead and separate your feet outer hip distance apart. And you might find that you're like, yeah, Jessica, that's not wide enough for me. And you might shift them a little further apart. So you're choosing what's going to work for you. Now, we're going to imagine for some reason, I have hula hoops that I put around all of your hips. And so you've got these hula hoops. I want you to start making hula hoop hip circles If you need to put hands on blocks, by all means do that. If you need to bend one knee, by all means do that. If you don't need to do any of that, by all means don't do any of that. But we're trying to create circles with our greater trochanters, those are the big giant protrusions on the outer edges of our hips. And our head, the more that we do it, will just go along for the ride. Our spine will go along for the ride. We're creating what Susan Klein calls figure eights of the hips. And you're just feeling what that feels like. Especially those of us that have a great tension on the IT bands, you might feel this on the outer hips. And then just let the head be as heavy as it can be. Great. And then once you feel like you've done enough of that, you'll go ahead and find yourself in stillness. Some of us might want to bring our hands on blocks. Keep your feet outer hip distance apart. And then we're going to do, well, I guess, a few pliés here. So you're going to bend your knees and see if you can draw your butt closer to your heels. And then you're going to straighten your legs and let your head careen to the floor. And you've got about 4 of these. So bending the knees, the butt towards the floor, and then straightening. All right, and you've got 2 more. Bending the knees, letting the knees track over the center of the feet. Yeah. And straighten. And this is our last one. And we'll stay down once we get here. Haha, tricked you out. Great. So now we're here. Haha. Bring your hands to heart center. Push your palms into each other. Reach your heart and sternum forward. And if you're one of those people who can happily sit here with your butt down on the floor, see if you can lift your hips a little bit higher. And then see if you can soften the shoulders down the back and heart lifts up. And we'll breathe for 3. We'll breathe for 2. We'll breathe for 1. Fantastic. Jenny, can you make your feet a little bit more neutral for me? Yep, okay. Only because this is going to be fun. You're going to start to lift your butt a little higher up. And we're going to find ourselves in this awkward squat position. Your heart lifts up. Inhale. As you exhale, push through the feet, stand up. And then breathe. Bend your knees and sit back in that weird awkward squat. We got 4 of these. Hello, butt. Hello, butt. Yay. Okay, they are called squats, and we're just doing them. And if you want to walk your feet a little wider, by all means do that too. Da, da, da. Well, we need to do these apparently. We're getting older and we're losing our muscle mass. And apparently, Julianne, you don't have to worry about this right now, but once you hit 30, apparently it just goes down the hill very quickly. All right. I'm so unhappy to hear that. This is our last one. We're going to sit our butt down. Fantastic. Go ahead and release your hands back. Turn your palms to face down. Hug your shoulder blades together on your back. Heart lifts. And then we'll sweep our arms forward. And then maybe you'll reach them up and overhead as you sit your butt a little lower for 3. You'll keep breathing for 2. You'll notice if you're still pressing evenly on the balls of your feet for 1. Next in-breath, stand up, reach up, maybe look up. Oh, fantastic. Exhale, lower the hands down. Close your eyes, soften the gaze, and just take a moment to breathe. We are now finally vertical. How does the body feel? How does the breath feel? How are you feeling? Nice work. All right, go ahead and add on. We're just going to do 3 of these. Inhale, circle, sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale, hands through heart center. 2 more just like that. Inhale, circle, sweep the arms. Notice how long your breath is. Yeah, look at that. Exhale, hands through heart center. Last one. Inhale, circle, sweep the arms. And exhale, heart center. Okay, we're going to add on. Inhale, circle, sweep the arms up and overhead. Flip your left palm to face the left. Grab your left wrist. Again, inhale, reach up. And then exhale, little baby side bend to the right. Now you might stay here. You might release your right hand to your hip. It feels fun to me to push my hips to the left and then reach out through the right. And I feel this long stretch happening all along my side body. And you just pause and you breathe. And on your next in-breath, come up through center. Exhale, lower the hand down. Take a moment to breathe. We're rebreathing through all of that. Oh, maybe. And then inhale, circle, sweep arms up and overhead. Grab your right wrist and the right palm to the sky. And then exhale, little baby side bend to the left. Again, you might just stay here. You might release the left hand to the pelvis. Lightly push the hips to the right as you reach out through the right arm to the left. Nice. Inhale, come up through center. Exhale, lower both arms down. Take a moment to pause, a moment to breathe. If you need to circle the shoulders, you do that. If you need to bend the knees, you do that. If you need to wiggle around, you do that. Just check in. You notice. How are you feeling? Okay. From here, let's bring our hands to our low back. Draw the shoulders up towards your ears. Draw your shoulder blades together on your back. Inhale, heart lifts up. And then exhale, you'll just fold forward and you'll take your time. You might get halfway and be like, yeah, I don't like my hands there. And if so, then you release your hands to the floor, the blocks behind you. If you're okay, you might let your head continue to fall towards the floor. And then you might draw your hands up and away from your tuchus and up and over your head. But you're paying attention to what's happening in your shoulders. You're paying attention to what's happening in your breath. You're paying attention to what's happening in your body as a whole, rather. You don't want to just pay attention to your shoulders, but that's fine. On your next in-breath, hands come back to your bum if they're anywhere else. And then exhale, slide the hands down the feet to the floor. From here, let's go ahead and wiggle walk our feet so they're hip distance apart. And then bring your hands to your blocks. Inhale, pull your heart and sternum forward, send your pubic bone back. And as you exhale, bend your knees and step your right leg happy and long and back. Confident low lunge. Fantastic. Now from here, you're going to start to make your hands light. So to do that, you have to really push down into your front foot, push down into your back foot and make those hands light. And then we'll start to come forward and up for Ashta Chandrasana, high crescent lunge. Yeah. And once we find ourselves here, we're again pushing into our left foot, pushing into our right foot, hugging those points together and seeing if we can lift up through the chest, up through the ribs. And then notice, are you breathing? Belly, ribs, chest, belly, ribs, chest. On your next exhale, spin the right foot down, open to Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2, and then adjust your feet as needed for you so that it feels like you've got enough space and you can be in that shape pretty easily and pretty happily. From here, turn your left palm to face the sky and inhale, reverse your warrior for Viparita Virabhadrasana, and you're just pausing and you're breathing and we're enjoying our bodies. We're enjoying our breath. We're enjoying this moment. Inhale, come back to Warrior 2. Now this time, I want you to push so far down through your front foot that you happen to straighten your left leg. And then I want you to lift your left heel off the floor a little bit. And notice that we could pull up our left kneecap muscle. Lower the left heel down, reach out through the left arm, shift your bum back, and lower your left hand to block, floor, shin, whatever happens to be below you. And pause and breathe. And you just notice what you notice. How's the breath? How's the body? How are you? Nice work, guys. Inhale, return to Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2, bending the front knee. And then exhale, cartwheel the hands down to the floor. Pause. Shift your weight forward, step forward, top of mat, Uttanasana, forward fold. Now, once you're here, really make sure your feet are hip distance apart. Some of you will choose to put a block between your shins. Some of you will not. You do that based upon you. And then inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. And then exhale, fold all the way in. Here we go. Inhale, bend your knees, sit your butt super low, reach your arms forward, Utkatasana, chair pose. And then you just pause and you breathe. Again, belly, ribs, chest. Hug your outer thighs towards each other. Push down into your big toe mounds. Inhale, stand up, reach up, perhaps you look up. And then exhale, cactus the arms. Allow the hands to fall towards the floor and take a moment to pause and take a moment to breathe. Great, let's move on. Inhale, circle sweep arms up and overhead. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold, Uttanasana. When you get there, if you place that block, remove the block, and then inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands on your blocks, and step your left leg long and back. Fantastic. Now, just as we did before, we're going to really root into our right foot, really root into your left foot, start to make your hands light, which encourages you to actually engage your core. And then we'll inhale and sweep arms up. Good. And overhead, and you just pause and you breathe, and you notice how this side is its own animal. So we pause, you're doing it, and you breathe, and you pause and you breathe. And again, we're breathing into the belly. We're breathing into the ribs. We're breathing into the chest. Whoa, and maybe we fall off to the side. On your next exhale, bend your back foot down, open to Virabhadrasana 2. And then you just pause and you breathe. And we want to check in with our front knee, making sure it's aligned over the front center 2 toes. So if we need to turn our toes in just a little bit, we can do that. And you just pause and you breathe. And then as you're ready, you'll flip your front palm, your right palm, reverse your warrior, and take Viparita Virabhadrasana, reverse warrior. And you just pause and you breathe, and you pause, and you breathe. Nice work. Inhale, come back through warrior two. As you exhale, push into your right foot, straighten your right leg long. And then just as we did before, see if you can lift the right heel up, pull your right knee cap up. Keep that, lower the heel down, shift your pelvis back, reach your right arm forward, lower right hand to shin, block, or floor as you extend up through your left arm. And you just pause and you breathe. And sometimes we have to come out just a little bit so that we can allow our chest and heart to open. And sometimes that's okay if we don't. Next in breath, return to warrior two, bend your front knee, fantastic. As you exhale, cartwheel your hands down to the floor. And this time you'll step once again to the top of your space, Uttanasana. Now for all of us, let's go ahead and plant that block between our shin bones on its second setting. Great. Now, from here, let's keep hugging our shin bones into that block like we're playing Candy Crush or something, and you want to crush that candy. I don't know if that's how that game actually works. Maybe I shouldn't say that. It's not. Thank you. Thank you, Julie. She's like, no, that's not how that works. All right. And then inhale, reach your heart and sternum forward and through. As you exhale, bend your knees, sit your butt super duper low, and then inhale, sit for Uttanasana. Fantastic. Now with that block, you're going to crush that. Squeeze the inner shin bones and then hug your outer hips to balance that. Then notice if your weight is super far back or super far forward on your feet. How is it on your feet? And then again, where's the breath? Are you breathing into your belly, breathing into your ribs, breathing into your chest? That's a lot of crap to remember, I know. Next in breath, stand up, reach up. Perhaps you look up, hooray! And then exhale, arms open out, close the gaze, soften the eyes, and just breathe. 3 breaths. 3 breaths. And as you're here, I encourage and invite you to just check in. What messages is your body sending to you? And I say this from the standpoint that sometimes those messages come as physical sensations, Sometimes we feel pain or discomfort or irritability. Sometimes they come as emotion, happiness, sadness, joy, grief, anxiety, whatever. Sometimes they come as thoughts. I think that the more we can start to tune into these messages and whatever subtle forms they come in, the more we can start to take the appropriate steps, the appropriate actions in order to heed the messages that we're being given. All right, we'll come back to that in a minute. Inhale, circle, sweep your arms. As you exhale, hinge forward at your hips, forward fold. Next in breath, go ahead and remove that block. And then exhale, fold in a little deeper into your body. Here we go. Inhale, halfway lift. As you exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, step back, plank pose. 3 long, steady, smooth breaths. And you just notice what you notice. How's the body talking to you right now? What are the messages it's sending? Great. Next in breath, you'll shift your weight forward. As you exhale, lower slower than you want to, hugging elbows back, reaching heart forward, belly, chest, and thighs. Yep, there you go. Lowering all the way down. This time, when you're on your abdomen, slide your hands back alongside your hips, palms face down. Palms face down. Okay. So this one's definitely coming directly from Judith Hanson Laster. I do not want you to worry about what your butt is doing, okay? You're going to reach back through your hands. You'll draw your shoulder blades together on your back and lift your ears in line with the tops of your shoulders. On your next in-breath, you'll reach your hands up. You'll reach your legs, your inner thighs, your knees up. And you just pause and you breathe as we hover in locust pose, the arms and legs off the floor, hugging shoulder blades onto the back body, extending out through the crown of your head. Yay! And exhale, lower down. Plant your hands alongside your ribs. Curl your toes under your choice, hands and knees, or plank pose. And then exhale, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. 3 long, steady, smooth breaths. Nice job, guys. All right. Go ahead and lower your knees to the mat. And then we're going to lower our forearms down to the mat. Let's bring our palms to touch for prayer pose. And our elbows, we're going to bring slightly inside of our shoulders. It'll be a little bit narrower. Okay. Then from there, I want you to push your palms together. push down and wide through your flesh of your upper arms as you round, or your forearms, as you round through your spine. Happy little cat. Some of you will stay here in this weird, awkward, utterly awkward position. Some of you will curl your toes under, start to lift your tuchus to the sky, keep pushing down and wide through your forearms, and maybe perhaps you walk your toes closer to your face for dolphin pose. Oh, that's looking good, Erica. And you just pause and you breathe, and you pause and you breathe, and you pause and you breathe. Fantastic. When you're ready to come down, you lower your knees to the mat, and you take a rest in Balasana, child's pose. Whether your arms sweep forward, whether they sweep back, whether you make a diamond, it is totally up to you, but you just pause and you breathe, and you pause and you breathe, and you just notice what you notice. How's the body? How's the breath? How are you? All right. When you're ready, we're going to slither ourselves forward onto a snake, or slither ourselves forward onto our bellies like a snake. There we go. All right. Now, from here, how's the best way for me to do this? I'll demo and then you'll do, so sit back up. Or you can stay there, that's totally up to you. We're gonna do some bow poses. So we're gonna do opposite hands long. So I'll have my right leg long, my right arm long, my left knee bent, my right or left hand on my right knee. And I'm just going to extend out from my midline and see how high I can lift. And then I'm gonna lower down. I'll be like, yeah, no, that's fine. And then I'll do it on the other side. And again, I'm reaching out from my midline to come up. And then after we do that, both sides, both sets, you'll find yourself into Dhanurasana. Okay, all right. So before we do that though, we're gonna do another locust to make sure your backs are prepared for that, and then we'll try that. So hands back alongside your hips. When you're ready, you'll lift your legs, you'll lift your arms up and away from the floor. Now, Judith talks about not telling people what to do because she says her body and your body is smarter than her brain and your brain. So she says, just let the body do what it's going to do. So you'll notice that your body will naturally engage the muscles it needs to lift you off the floor. Go ahead and lower down. All right, if you like that, do that again. If you'd like to try the asymmetrical one, you'll go ahead and reach your left arm forward, bend your right knee, grab your right foot with your right hand, and then again, your body will do it. So you just think of lifting legs, arms away from each other. If you're an inch off the floor, great. If you're not, great, doesn't matter. And then when you're ready, you lower down. You might take a breath or two in neutral, and then you might try the other side. So in this instance, right arm would go forward, left arm would come back, left knee would bend, and then maybe you lift up and reach away and you just notice. Yeah, and you just pause and you breathe. Fantastic. And then when you're ready, you release and you lower down. You might take a few breaths. You might try locust again if that feels good to you, or you might try Dhanurasana. So locust is legs long, arms long. Dhanurasana is knees bent, hands holding onto feet. You choose what works for you. And the only way you know what works for you is if you pause and if you breathe. You pause and you breathe. You pause and you breathe. You pause and you breathe. Yeah, nice choices, everybody. You pause and you breathe. And then when you're done, you're done. You gently release. Fantastic. Cool. From here, let's bring our hands underneath our shoulders. Curl your toes under, hands and knees or plank, and then make your way back to downward facing dog. And this will be our last down dog of the day. So I do encourage you to notice what it feels like, maybe to shift your hips a little, maybe to bend the knees a little, maybe to see what's happening in your shoulders. We're just essentially trying to elongate your spine. So as long as your spine stays pretty, long, you'll be fine. Great. And then let's go ahead and come to stillness. Lower your knees to the mat and go ahead and sit on your heels. Oh, I just realized I forgot something. Darn it. Okay, we'll do it here then. You're going to turn and face your side. So face the long edge of your mat. And what? Yep. And you'll want to stagger and you'll probably want to have your blanket somewhere nearby. Now, some of you will choose to open your blanket at least this wide. Some of you might choose to open your blanket all the way out. It just depends upon a couple of things, how sensitive your knees are and how wide your hips can go. What? I forgot Froggy. I was supposed to have done it earlier, yeah. So we'll then go ahead and find ourselves sitting on our heels, and then you'll open your knees as wide as they'll go for you for now. Then you'll crawl yourself forward, hands and knees, and then open your feet out. And then you might be like, yeah, Jessica, I can slide my knees out further. And then you might slide your knees out further. Some of you might choose to flex your feet. Some of you might choose to just let your feet point back or be neutral. But you want to notice what happens if your shin bones are at a 90-degree angle from your, I guess, perpendicular angle from your thigh bones, so 90-degree angle in your knees. You might choose to stay here. You might shift a little forward. You might shift a little back. But you're just paying attention. You're pausing. You're breathing. You're seeing how this is working for you now. Great. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. And then when you're ready to come out of this, we'll reverse engineer what we did. So you're going to start to draw your feet towards your midline, so big toes towards each other. You're going to start to come back up onto your hands. You're going to walk your hands back, and then you're going to start to walk your knees towards each other. Hooray. Okay. Now you can stay in the orientation that you're at or turn to face the front. It's totally up to you, but we're going to bring our right hip to the floor. Great. Now you're going to okay. Just so we can see. All right. You're going to Barbara, I think I can see my butt. I'll scoot forward. Okay. So you're going to take your left hand and bring your left hand to the outside edge of your right knee. You're going to bring your right hand back behind you. Go ahead and inhale. So Barbara, turn the other direction. There we go. Lift up through your spine. And again, we're going to start from the belly. So the belly starts to go towards your right. Your rib cage goes to the right. Your chest goes to the right. Fantastic. And you're going to twist to the right. And then notice what's happening in your left hip. Sometimes it feels super cool if you drop your left hip back, or rather your left thigh bone back, as your left hip still comes forward. So the hip comes forward. What was that? Right? It's interesting. So if the hip comes forward, but the thigh bone goes back, you get a different sensation, and you're just rolling through the spine or twisting through the spine, and you're just breathing. Happy days, happy days. All right. Next in-breath, come back through center. From here, we're going to draw our left hand out to the left. Inhale, sweep your right arm up, or be happy mermaids. You're going to breathe. And for those of us that have stuff happening on our right hip, you might feel a nice stretch happening along your right hip. Some of you will stay here. Some of you will hold the back of your head, push your head back, lean back. And for me, I find that that intensifies whatever I'm feeling on the right hand side. And you just pause and you breathe and you pause and you breathe and you pause and you breathe. All right. And then we'll go ahead and inhale and come up. Go ahead and lower, I guess that's like your right hand down, and then shift your weight back onto both heels. And then now bring your left butt cheek to the floor. And we'll do all that on the other side. Now your right hand comes to the outside edge of your left knee, right? Left hand comes back behind you. Again, start from your abdomen. So the abdomen rolls towards the left. The rib cage rolls towards the left. The chest rolls towards the left. Now you keep all of that. So the pelvis is coming to the left, but root back your right thigh bone. And then you breathe and you pause and you breathe and you pause and you breathe. And for me, sometimes it feels like I can lift my collarbones up a little bit more and sit a little bit higher through the upper chest as I'm in this weird twisty thing. And then when you're ready, you'll gently inhale and unwind. Allow the right hand to come out to the right, the left arm to sweep up and overhead, and we take a happy side bend towards the left. And you might walk your left hand even further out if you've got long arms and a shorter torso. You might bend your top elbow and hold your head with your hand. And then you lean your head back. And we find a sensation or a stretch happening all along our, I guess that's your right side. You just pause and you breathe. Maybe that's your left side. That's your left side, my right side. When I'm in confusing shapes like this, I don't know which side is my right and your left. And I'm just like, okay, you're feeling something on this side that's on top. All right, and then we'll inhale and come up. Go ahead and release that. Let's go ahead and extend our legs forward. And everybody turn around, actually. There we go. And let's find ourselves on our backs. Not on your blankets, unless you want it, but then you won't have it for Shavasana if you want it done, so maybe not. Thank you for that, Roberta. And then when you're on your back, I just want you to notice what happens if you turn your palms up. What happens if you spread your arms a little bit wider from your torso? Do you find a space where it feels like your collarbones can just open, the shoulder blades just hug onto the floor, hug onto the back? Notice what's happening in your pelvis. What does the pelvis feel? Okay, now let's make sure our knees are bent. Draw your right knee into your chest. Interlace your hands at the back of your right thigh, and then reach your right foot up to the sky. And so there is the option to use your strap here if you feel like you have a longer torso and shorter arms. And you just pause and you breathe, and you might circle that ankle, you might not. And then I wonder what would happen if you drew your hands a little further down. Is that easier? Okay. And then you just pause and you breathe. And if you can check in with your right sit bone and your left sit bone, if both of those are rooted to the floor, you might stay here, or you might choose to slide your left leg in opposition down along the floor beneath you. Yeah. And if you've done that, we're going to root down through the back of our left heel, back of our left thigh, back of our left calf. You're going to draw your right hip away from your right shoulder. And you just pause and breathe. And you just pause and you breathe. Great. On your next exhale, go ahead and bend the left knee, plant the left foot on the floor, bend the right knee into the chest. Maybe move the thigh around in the hip socket, maybe not. Some of you might choose to stay here. Some of you might reach that left leg long again, just for a nice stretch across the front of your left thigh, but you just pause and you breathe. Okay. And when you're ready, you're going to find yourself back to neutral, both feet on the floor, both knees bent, palms on the floor, facing up, and just notice what it feels like. How's the right side? How's the left side? How's the breath? How's the body? How are you? And we'll try all that on the other side. So your left knee comes in. You bring your hands to the back of your left thigh. You reach your left foot up towards the sky. So we're just trying to find that 90-degree angle, and maybe you circle the ankle, maybe you don't. You check in and remember whether or not you're breathing. And then maybe some of you will stay here, really rooting that thigh bone down. Some of you might slide your right leg down in opposition. And you just pause and you breathe and you flex that top foot. You push down through the bottom foot and you breathe. Okay. On your next exhale, go ahead and bend the right knee, plant the foot on the floor. Draw the left knee in. Maybe circle that thigh bone around. Some of you might re-extend that right leg if that works for you. Okay. And we'll go ahead and release. Draw both feet to the floor. Okay. You can choose to put a block in between your thighs if you'd like or not. But we'll have our feet hip distance apart. If we're using that block, we'll put it in between our thigh bones, maybe on its second setting or first setting, depending upon how wide your hips are. Turn the palms to face up and make sure your heels are pretty close to you, not super duper close, but like if you needed to tickle your heels with your fingers, maybe you could. Okay. Now from here, you're going to push down into your feet. You're going to squeeze your block. You're going to lift your hip. And then you're going to exhale and lower your butt back down. You're going to do 2 more of those. Inhale, pushing down, lifting up, squeezing your block. Exhale, lowering down. Last one. And exhale, lower down. Okay, let's come back up one more time. This time we're going to stay here. I would encourage you to keep your arms kind of how they are. You're going to squeeze that block for dear life. Shift the weight more into your left foot and reach your right foot forward, keeping the thighs parallel to each other, finding like a 45-degree angle. You'll notice that suddenly your left butt cheek has to work a whole crap ton. And then go ahead and lower that foot down. Try it on the other side. So squeezing the block, pushing into your right foot, lifting left foot forward. And then when you're ready, you lower it down. You got 2 more on your own. Happy hamstrings, happy glutes. Hooray, back body. And once you've done an equal number on both sides, you just stay in bridge for 3 breaths and then bring yourself all the way down and out of it. Great. Go ahead and lower yourself down. Go ahead and remove the block. Open your arms out into a T shape. Cross your right thigh over your left thigh. Right thigh over your left thigh. Okay, I'm like, I don't know, maybe I said something else. And then you're going to pull your legs over to the right, but resist. So you're going to resist to find a stretch on the top of our outer hip. So you pull it, but your legs are like, no, I don't want to go. Please don't make me. Please don't make me. There we go. Do we find something on the top of our left hip? Okay. You just pause and you breathe. You pause and you breathe. And when you're ready, you'll gently release, come back up to center. You'll bring your feet back to hip distance apart and neutral. And then we try all that on the other side. So arms in the T, cross your left thigh over, and then resist as you pull your legs to the left. So resist, resist, resist as your legs go to the left. Then you just pause and you breathe, and you pause and you breathe, and you notice what you notice. Right. Next in breath, come back up through center. Uncross the legs, feet hip distance apart. Now cross your right ankle over the top of your left thigh. We're going to try not to use our hands for this. Press your right ankle against the top of your left knee and then draw your legs towards your chest. The more you kick your left knee into you, you want to press your right ankle out into that left knee. And we're trying to both strengthen and stretch the body. And we'll be here for about 4 or 5 breaths. 4 or 5 breaths. After you've taken your 4 or 5 breaths, if you decide that you would like to thread your hands through the hole, by all means, go ahead, grab the back of the left thigh, front of the left shin. Great. Last 2 breath cycles here. And then gently, you'll release the hands if you took them, draw the left foot to the floor, draw the right foot next to meet its mate, and just take a couple of breath cycles here, noticing what you notice. How's the breath? How's the body? How are you? And then when we're ready, we'll try the other side. So you'll cross your left ankle over the top of the right thigh. You'll flex through that foot. And again, without using the hands, draw the right knee towards you, resist with that left ankle. And you've got about your 4 to 5 breaths here. And just pause and you breathe as we strengthen and stretch the outer rotators on that left side. It's funny, this week I wanted to talk about something that I'd observed at work, and I couldn't figure out how exactly to make it into a dharma. I'm just going to drop it in as a nugget. Um, well, I'll wait till you come out of this. You've got a couple more breaths. If you want to thread your hands through the hole, you can and grab maybe the back of your right thigh, front of your right shin, but you'll take a few more breath cycles here. And again, you're just paying attention. You're noticing what you notice. How's the body talking to you? What does it need? Great. Very gently, if you've got your hands, release them. Lower the right foot to the floor, release the left foot to the floor. Take a moment to pause here. Separate your feet a little bit wider than your hips. Now imagine for some reason I've super glued your soles of the feet to the floor. They cannot go anywhere. Inhale, open your knees as wide as they'll go. And then exhale, draw them back towards each other. You've got about 5 to 10 of these, and you're just paying attention. You're trying to find movement in the ankles as well as in the hip joints, as well as reset the innominate bones of the pelvis. And so you're just feeling what this feels like. Okay. Take one more set on your own and then come to neutral. Right. From here, let's draw our knees into our chest, Apanasana, wind relieving pose. Spread your hands through the whole or inside edges of your thighs. Grab the outside edges of your feet. Open your feet to the sky and find Ananda Balasana, happy baby. And I want you to play with your happy babies today. Maybe rock, maybe straighten one leg or the other. Maybe you push up more through your soles of your feet as you pull down with your hands. Maybe you try different hand placement. You just notice what feels good to you. And then when you feel complete, go ahead and start to make your way to your Shavasana. And so when you get towards your Shavasana, I would encourage the first thing that you do is really stretch out. So meaning maybe you point through your toes like a dancer and reach your arms up through your head like a swimmer or a diver and just find a lot of length. And then go ahead and set the body up for Shavasana, releasing everything, maybe letting the legs flop open, the arms come out to the side in a place that works for them, where the shoulder blades are really resting on the back. The heart really feels open. And sometimes it helps if you almost pretend that you're like 5 and making a snow angel. If you start to open the arms out away from the hips, you'll start to find that magic sweet spot where you're like, oh, wow, I can suddenly breathe easier here. Okay, so actually, we'll do this first. Bring your awareness back to your breath. And just as we started, I want you to breathe into your belly. I want you to breathe into your ribs and breathe into your chest. And then exhale from the belly and then soften the ribs and then soften the chest. And you'll just do that a few more times on your own. So you're breathing into your abdomen. You're widening through the rib cage, front, back, left, right. And you're breathing into the collarbones, the armpits. And then you'll exhale through the belly. You'll let the ribs knit and soften together, and you'll let the heart space melt as well. And you'll just take, I don't know, maybe about 4 more breath cycles like that on your own. Noticing that each time you are expanding your capacity while also softening, while also yielding and releasing. So the observation that I had at work this week was interesting. As can be imagined, this week they were requiring that we all come in. And as you can imagine, for people that have worked at home for, I don't know, past 4 years, there was a lot of griping. There was a lot of complaining. There was a lot of like, why are we here? And I found myself thinking about this because what if instead of shying away from complaints, we allowed ourselves to actually see them as bids for connection? And I think this is important because, sometimes our body complains to us. Sometimes things don't feel good. They hurt. They're not working the way that we would like them to in an ideal world. Our tummies hurt, our hamstrings are tight, or our arms are just like not cooperating. But what if instead of, judging, evaluating that, we saw it as a bid for connection, whether it's more of our time, asking us to slow down a little bit, to just practice a little bit more breath, a little bit more awareness in each moment. What would happen if we viewed every complaint, every pain, every discomfort as a bid for connection? How might it enable us to show up more fully in this moment and every moment of our lives? So as you continue to lie here with your breath, I invite you to continue to pay attention to all the sensations, all the bids for connection that our body is naturally giving us every moment of our existence. And notice that every single one of them is welcome. And notice that the more that you actually just kind of give it attention, just like those people that complain, it dissipates, it changes, it transforms. Our bodies heal, our hearts heal, and we sometimes just have to give it a little bit of awareness. So I'll leave you here with you for a few more moments, a few more breaths, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Return your awareness to the breath. As you come back to your breath, just take a moment to check in, to really breathe consciously, deliberately, sort of scan the body and notice what you notice at this moment. If there's any part of you that's longing to linger here for a few more breaths, a few more moments, by all means, just stay here. When you do feel movement calling, allow it to re-enter into the body, whatever way feels curious to you, engaging, comforting, nourishing to you. Again, those in stillness, you stay as long as you'd like. Those that are in movement will gradually begin to make your way to one of your sides. And you take your time, feel what the body feels. You relish in the experience that only you can have. You're the only one inside there. Those that are on your side, just slowly pull your chest towards the floor. And then bring yourself up to a tall and vertical seat. And we're all moving at our own pace when you do that. When you are ready to be vertical, I would encourage you to sit on something. Very similar to how we began. If you need to free any flesh from under you, by all means do that. Bring a hand to the abdomen and a hand to the heart. Allow, again, that rooting so the sit bones really root down and they spread wide. And then you find that stacking of the vertebra. And so for me, it feels like the pubic bone comes forward because the lumbar spine has an anterior tilt that comes forward. And then the cervical, or rather the thoracic spine, has a kyphotic curve to it. And the cervical spine, again, has that lordotic curve to it. Yeah. And you just find the shape. So again, Judith Hanson Laster is talking about having these curves because she says it's what keeps the health of the disc of a vertebra. And so we want to try to honor those natural curves as best as possible, working with what inherently is there. So as you're here for these last 3 breaths, again, just notice how the breath is. Does it feel natural to you to breathe again, so into the belly, into the ribs, into the chest? Does your breath want to do something else? I think sometimes when we notice these incongruencies is another way that we could call a complaint. Something is not the way that we would want it to be. Certain needs are not being met. Again, what if we allow that to be a great thank you moment so that we can make the necessary changes, so we can find that connection with self, find that connection with source, find that connection with others. So you'll take your last breath cycle here. And then when you feel complete, bring your hands to heart center onto your mudra. Continue to breathe wherever you are. Those with hands at heart center, lightly press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of your thumbs into your sternum and lift the sternum to the thumbs. Soften the shoulders, soften the throat, and exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Audible breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. Draw your thumbs to your third eye. May our thoughts be clear. Draw your thumbs to your lips. May our words be kind. And draw your thumbs to your heart center. May our hearts be open. The light, the breath, that connection within me honors and salutes the light, the breath, the connection within each of you. Namaste.